Hi everyone, Sertrice here. Thanks for hopping on today. I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in. The purpose of me joining you all today is to give a little recap of the call that happened yesterday. For those of you who are DEI&B chairs for your local chapter, you know that they are starting a monthly Connect series. And so yesterday was the first one. And these calls are going to be hosted by Sertrice Grice from the Indianapolis chapter and Megan Patton from Cleveland. And I'll be there as well to chime in as needed and take notes so I can help share that back out with you all. And part of the reason we're doing this Facebook Live and sharing this information is to make sure that we're really clear and transparent. We know you want different forms of communication, so we hope that you find these videos useful as another way for us to connect. So getting right into it, purpose of this call, I just mentioned part of it, but it's also part of that listening tour that we've been referencing. So it's a way for the National DEI&B Committee to share out activities that they're up to, get you up to speed, let you know what's going on, and provide major updates, and also to answer your questions about anything they have going on, and then to hear your feedback and any other questions that you may have, really making sure that there's a connection there. So that's the point of the call. And this call that we did yesterday, there were a few updates, so thought I'd recap those real quick. So the first one is around resources. There have been a lot of requests for resources, and so on these calls, resources can be shared from the national committee, but also amongst chapters, right? What are you doing? What are some things that are working? What isn't? But the National DEI&B Committee did also hear that you want a one-page resource list of external organizations that you can reach out to for support. So they're in process of compiling that, and that list of resources is going to be a part of the March toolkit. And on that list, it'll indicate if Nationals has used that source, and it will also, it includes a number of NAWBO members. We reached out to people to see if they wanted to be on the list. But definitely want to call out that you should be vetting those people as well before you decide if there's anyone you want to use. So we're going to pull a list together. It's there for you to peruse at your leisure. Also wanted to note that the toolkit will also include the Inclusion Code of Conduct, which is currently in review. And then it will also have the webpage, and there's going to be a webpage in NAWBO Institute dedicated to sharing best practices amongst, again, DEI&B committee leaders at local chapters. So the other update we wanted to share is that these survey results are in progress. Those are going to get rolled out here in a couple of different ways over the next few weeks. And chapters who had enough responses to get their own data will get, a copy of that data summarizing and saying, hey, here's the responses we were seeing across the board for your local chapter. But there will also be a report out of at the national level. Here are some of those highlights. So stay tuned for that. It will be coming soon. After the updates, we did spend a little time connecting about the DEI&B circles. Those courageous conversations have received some really great feedback as being a powerful way to connect. So if you haven't signed up already, definitely consider there are a couple more left. So check those out. We also, like I started the conversation off with, we touched on communication. So right now, the toolkit that I mentioned, that's hosted on the website, and it's really robust. It has a lot of information around things going on at the national level, things you might consider locally. And it's a lot, and it's all in one place, and that's where we'll make the updates. But we also know, we've heard feedback, that you get too many emails, but you're also not getting enough communication. So we're looking for ways to better connect. And so one thing that people did say is, even though there are a lot of emails, maybe emails when there are updates to the toolkit could be useful. We talked about trying things like this live recap on social media. So if anyone else out there, you're listening to this later and you have ideas on how you'd like to be communicated with and maybe some unique options that we could consider, definitely reach out. You can email deib@nawbo.org, or you can email, Sertrice, Megan, or myself, and we'd love to hear that, or comment on this live and we'll take a look at that as well. So then we spent the bulk of the time talking about a question that was posed on how do you even get started in this role? We know it's new, a new request. Some people have been in it for a few months, some people maybe a few weeks even, so everyone's trying to figure out how to navigate. And there were a few pieces of advice that I jotted down that came out of the conversation. So one is referencing that toolkit. A lot of things are going to be shared there. So just keeping your eye on that, it can really help give you some direction. And then that survey data, once that's available, using that, looking at it and seeing, where are the areas of opportunity that can help you figure out where you should focus first to really dive into this work. Another chapter mentioned that they're doing their own little survey to get some more data at their local level and see, what stage of business are their members in, what are their specific needs, what can the chapter can be doing to help. So maybe consider collecting your own local data. Another little tidbit they did there was that they did it during a meeting and it was very short, and that way they could have a really high completion rate. So just a little piece of advice. And then the other piece that came out was just making sure you're connecting your actions to the national level, but aligning it with your unique local needs. So for instance, one chapter discussed that they took the national diversity statement and then they reviewed that and saw what pieces aligned with their vision and what pieces maybe not so much, or that they wanted to add something that they felt was missing. And so I definitely encourage all local chapters to do that. It's important that you're aligned to the national organization, but it's also important that you consider, what do you specifically have going on? What's great for your local chapter? So that's a pretty quick summary. I want to keep this pretty brief. Don't see any questions yet, so gonna get ready to wrap this up, but definitely do not hesitate. Again, drop any comments if you have any thoughts later on, and send an email to the DEI&B committee, Megan, Trisetta, myself, happy to connect, and we'll see you next month. Bye.